Hello everyone and welcome back to another figure review. Today we're finally taking a look at the adult version of the S.H.Figuarts Dragon Ball Daima Vegeta. Now I know many of you, myself included, have eagerly been awaiting Tamashii to release an updated sculpt for the Prince of All Saiyans. Well, it's finally here, and boy do we have a lot to talk about. And I'll go ahead and spoil the review for y'all. It's pretty darn good, but while it is an outstanding figure in its own right, much like the Daima Goku, it falls a tad short for me, and I'll explain as to why that is as we get into the review. Keep in mind too that Tamashii just announced a brand new 3.0 Super Saiyan Vegeta to mimic his appearance from the Android and Cell sagas. So while I'm talking about this figure, you can also get an idea of what to expect with that figure when it releases later next year. And before we get too far into the review, let me clarify something for those of you that are probably mashing on your keyboards about the whole 2.0, 3.0, 4.2069 terminology. When I say 3.0 in this instance, I'm referring to it being our third iteration of Vegeta in his iconic battle armor. We have the original from back in 2011, our second, aka the 2.0, in 2016, and now this one that is in front of us. So with all that said, now, let's get into the review. Starting with the packaging, we have an image of Vegeta with his arms crossed, with a purpley-yellow gradient filling in those panels in the background. The borders for the panels are done in that thick ink brush design, and the lettering is a nice metallic purple finish. The right side of the box continues those manga-inspired panels, with the back side of the box showing off Vegeta in various poses. Here's a look at the left side of the box. A quick look at the top. And bottom to round off the packaging. So if you've watched my review of the Daima Mini Vegeta, I stated it was a sneak peek as to what was to come, and now that I have the adult version in hand, I can safely confirm it lived up to my expectations based off of the Mini, pros, cons, and all. So that means much like his Mini counterpart, he's lacking any real shading, and what paint we do get is there to define the parts of the armor that should be yellow. But harkening back to what I said in the Daima Goku review, I'm not expecting this figure to absolutely wow me with things like shading, because the true focus of this figure is the updated mold and articulation. Vegeta here is brand new from top to bottom, and everything about him feels good for being 38 USD. Taking a closer look at that mold, Tamashii has done a great job capturing Vegeta's likeness from Daima. Yes, Daima's art style has the cast looking fairly slim, but even then, Vegeta here looks more proportionally correct, especially when you size him up next to the Daima Goku. I think with this new mold, they were able to bring his size down a bit to match that of the 24,000 Vegeta, which is rocking shorter shins to help bring his scaling in line with the rest of the Dragon Ball cast. Compared to the Awakened Super Saiyan Blood release, or any Battle Armored Vegeta for that matter, the differences between the two molds are night and day, with the biggest difference being the Daima Vegeta having softer plastics for his armor and pelvic region, which really helps in posing this figure, and we'll definitely talk about that in more detail when we get to the articulation. Also, these hands are simply superb. Finally, we have something that doesn't look generic as hell, and doesn't look like reused hands from prior releases. Thank God. That was my biggest complaint about the Daima Mini. Now the last thing I want to focus on are the head sculpts. Vegeta's head sculpts are not it. I think that's in part due to the fact that we've been spoiled with the masterpiece that is the 24,000 Vegeta, and barely behind that is the older style Battle Cloves head sculpt. I like it when Vegeta's head sculpt is segmented, and while the back of the Daima head sculpt is done perfectly, the front is just missing something. Other than that, I love the faceplates as they perfectly capture Vegeta's likeness with that awesome print work that Tamashii has been known for as of late. And I like the fact that it's the faces themselves that swap out, not it and the Widow's Peak as a whole, which probably benefited Vegeta in the long run when you think about it because it creates segmented hairlines and stuff, but either way, it is a welcome change for sure, Tamashii. And before we move on, I must address one more thing about the head sculpts, as this is the biggest letdown of the entire figure. Unlike the Daima Goku, which I praised for having the ability to head swap to your heart's content, Vegeta here could not accept any of the 2.0 head sculpts on the 3.0 body simply because the ball peg is too small. Now, I know the Daima Goku is probably an outlier because once we move on to the 3.0 version of the Cell Games Goku, again talking iteration, we're not going to be able to head swap. And to use MMO terminology, this Vegeta, and more than likely the Dangerous Pride release, has effectively sunset all of our previous purchases, which means we will either have to buy new versions of these forms later down the line, or buy neck peg adapters, which I've seen the community do for this figure, and I'm going to be completely honest with y'all. It looks like absolute cheeks because of how big the 2.0 Vegeta's heads are when compared to the new 3.0 body. Now with that said, let's take a closer look at the accessories. Now, much like the Daima Mini Vegeta, Vegeta's spread is going to be about the same, except we're getting an additional set of hands. So that means right out of the box, Vegeta is going to come with 3 extra faceplates for a total of 4, 4 extra sets of hands for a total of 5, an additional head sculpt that is windswept, and his crossed arms piece. So for the faces we get the default stern face, a shouting face, a teeth-gritting face where he's looking down and to our left, which is different from the Mini, and a smirking face. And here's what all those faces look like on the windswept hair sculpt. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I love the fact that Tamashii has been including extra head sculpts with their general releases because it takes a figure from feeling basic to, well, excellent. It pushes it over the edge and makes you feel like you're getting your money's worth. I don't know, that's just how I feel about it. Plus, we go from having a 4 faceplate head sculpt combination to having 8 in total, and I love it. Now, not including the fists that come attached, we get 2 splayed out hands, 2 martial arts style hands, 2 Big Bang attack hands, which are unique to this figure, and 2 clenched hands, perfect for charging up that Gallic gun. Now for the crossed arms accessory, while it's not the same one that I ranted and raved about on the 24,000 Vegeta, or even the older style Battle Clothes Vegeta, it is still leagues better than the one that came on the 2.0 body. Again, 2.0 being the second iteration of Battle Armored Vegeta. Same principle, yes, but it works so much better. Good job, Tamashii. That's another welcomed change. As for what's missing, nothing that I can think of. Sure, a person can ask for one more faceplate, but I think with everything we get for the price point, it seems solid enough to me. Because at this point, I'm not sure what else a person can ask for without it bumping up the price of the figure, if that makes sense. So now that the accessories are out of the way, let's take a closer look at the main attraction for this figure, the articulation. Alright, let's get into the articulation here for the Daima Vegeta. So, as I've already stated, this is going to be a brand new sculpt from top to bottom, which means he is not using anything from his prior iterations, specifically talking the Battle Armored Vegeta. Yes, he will have some design choices from other releases that have been incorporated here, but specifically, this is going to be a brand new 3.0 Battle Armored Vegeta. So, let's get him closer, take a closer look, and see what he's all about. Starting with the head and working our way down, the first thing you're going to notice and appreciate about this new mold is the fact they're using a double ball peg and not a ball hinge. Thank you, Tamashii. No longer do we have to sit here and do the ball hinge shimmy or shuffle. We can just peg the head on and then sit here and do this number all day long without worrying about snapping a peg. Unless, you really crank on it, but we're, adults, right? So, looking up is going to be about like that. Looking down is about like so. And then that side-to-side tilt with the neck joint is absolutely superb. I love it. You're going to have a great time getting Vegeta to look around, look down, however you want to pose Vegeta. You're going to really appreciate that head movement. Heyo. All right. So I've already talked a little bit about it in the previous segment, but having softer goods for the straps really helps with Vegeta being able to do this number. You're going to be able to raise those arms up greater than 180 degrees. And then you're going to be able to bring those arms in fairly close because the armor itself is made of softer plastic. Not just the straps, but the upper torso and lower torso even, for that matter. When you actuate the dynamic movable shoulder system that Tamashii is still, working on getting a patent for, you're going to be able to get Vegeta to cross those arms greater than ever before. This is absolutely superb. Now, when I am referring to the dynamic movable shoulder system, I'm talking about the fact that you can bring the shoulders out. They can go in, and then you can pull them out, much like the Daima Goku I reviewed not too long ago. Don't believe me? Go check it out. Link will be up here or in the description. So, moving on. Double bicep swivel. Double bicep swivel. A bicep swivel that rotates a full 360. Technically, there's 2 of them, so double, yeah. Double jointed elbows and then wrist pegs that are ball hinges. They're still using them, but they are fairly beefy, and I do appreciate them. And then, if you're wondering, full 360. The system that they're using in here is not going to hinder the ability for Vegeta to rotate those arms a full 360. I lied! Oh, look at there! Delete reviews caught in a lie. If you're not careful, it will unpeg the arm, but it just snaps right back in. very, very easily. No issue. Yeah. Anywho, for the torso and the ab crunch, Vegeta is going to be able to crunch forward about like so. You do have to push in on the stomach, and if you want to bring the back up, you do have to kind of push on the back a little bit because it is softer plastic and it will bind itself if you're not careful. Leaning back, activating his trap hole is going to look about like that. And then you are going to get some leaning side to side. You are going to get some rotation as well. And then when you incorporate everything, including the lower waist and the ab section, that's what that crunching is going to look like. And then obviously, if we do it the other way around, oh yeah, it's pretty messy, but if you know what you're doing and you know what your limitations are with the figure, you can easily, adjust. And also, because of the ball and socket system for the waist, you're going to be able to do this number all day long, and then rotate a full 360 to see that big ass dumpy. You got a CDL to drive that thing there to Vegeta. Because the crotch or the pelvic region is made of softer plastics, Vegeta is going to be able to kick up greater than 90 degrees, and then kicking back is about the same in terms of, not as much going forward, but going back is still fairly doable. So greater than 130 degrees or 180 degrees of range. You're going to have upper thigh swivels. Getting ahead of myself, but look at these splits. These splits are phenomenal. Try that on a 2.0 Vegeta. I dare you. I bet you can't even do that. Double jointed knees. And then the piece of resistance. Ankle rockers that actually rock. Like these are phenomenal, y'all. Like this has been the biggest complaint with the 2.0 Vegeta, and then they have finally addressed it with this new iteration of the Battle Armored Vegeta. And then also, you got toe hinge. But that said, with these fantastic ankle rockers, can Vegeta do the power splits and it look good? Let's find out. Oh, lean back just a tad. Come on now. Ah, no. Stop it. You're making me look bad. There we are. Yeah, boy. He can do it. So, overall, is Vegeta going to do what you wanted to do? Abso-freaking-lutely. I hope that this is the Vegeta that y'all have been waiting for. Yes, I know the figure is fairly slim compared to his previous iteration, but for just a base form Vegeta, he doesn't look half bad. Does not look half bad. So, let's go ahead and move on to some head swaps. So I know I mentioned earlier in the review that head swapping for any of our Vegeta figures is not going to happen. However, you can swap this Vegeta head sculpt onto any 2.0 Goku you have, plus the Daima Goku. That means if you're a fan of those what-if scenarios, you can kit bash a Vegeta to look like he was sent to Earth before Goku. So here are just a couple of 2.0 bodies that you can use. I didn't think this would be possible, but it's kind of neat. I like it. For the comparisons, here's Vegeta next to the Daima Goku, the Daima Mini Vegeta, the Daima Mini Goku, the Daima Mini Piccolo, and Goma. So for my closing thoughts on the Daima Vegeta, I think for $38 it is a solid figure, and I think it perfectly serves as our gateway to future Battle Armored Vegetas. And don't get me wrong though, I am devastated that all of our 2.0 Vegetas are essentially useless when it comes to head swaps. I wish that wasn't the case, but Tamashi's got to keep us buying their newer releases. I want to clarify too that I have always been a fan of the 2.0 body for Vegeta, especially the Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta from DBS Broly. And I think that Tamashii updating the faces and head sculpts has done wonders for keeping that mold alive for as long as they have. But in light of the recent reviews I've done for Vegeta, it has become apparent that we're starting to run into mold degradation and design limitations. If you don't know what mold degradation is, it is exactly what it sounds like. The more and more times that mold is used, the more the quality begins to suffer. This is why you start running into tolerance issues with like loose floppy joints, mainly the biceps on any of your more recent 2.0 Vegetas. Not only does mold degradation affect the tolerances of certain joints, it also makes the aesthetic of the figure seem softer. Plus, with the competition continuously innovating, specifically Kong Studios, aka Beastides, aka Mythos Anime, aka whatever the hell they're going to be when they get disbanded and pop up for the umpteenth time. The point is, Tamashii needed to do something. I think that this is their answer, or at the very least, a start. We've seen the new Super Saiyan Vegeta that was recently announced that appears to be sharing the same articulation as this figure, and I believe going forward, any new Battle Armored Vegeta will be based on this body's overall design. You'll also notice that new Super Saiyan Vegeta is a little more swole. They're using different arms and different legs, but the concept is still the same. So with all that said, whether or not you're a fan of Daima, I highly recommend this figure simply because it's hard to deny that what Tamashii has delivered here is the gold standard for Vegeta moving forward, especially for that $38 price point, which the new Super Saiyan Vegeta will also be priced at. All that to say though, it's been a good 8-year run for the 2.0 Battle Armored Vegeta, but I think it's time we let it rest. And that's going to bring us to the end of the review. I'd like to thank you, the viewer, for making it to the end. If you haven't already, kindly hit the like button and subscribe, as it helps me out and keeps the channel growing. Plus, I've got other reviews up and more to come. I'd also love to hear your thoughts on this Vegeta. Did you pick it up, or are you still debating on it? And if Tamashii continues to use this body going forward, what 3.0 Battle Armored Vegeta do you want to see next? I know a lot of people want a proper base form Vegeta, which I think we will get sooner rather than later because, well, Tamashii just announced the base form Kind-Hearted Saiyan Goku, which should be releasing next year along with that Super Saiyan Vegeta. So maybe soon, TM. Personally, I would love to see an adult Super Saiyan 3 on this mold. I think that would be killer. Speaking of Super Saiyan 3, I bet y'all can guess what the next review is going to be. But anywho, this has been Delete Reviews, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.